So let me tell you why I'm qualified to help you with your business and your marketing and maybe your advertising. My only qualification is failure. You heard me, right? That's my real qualification. In my opinion, that's one of my greatest assets, is that I have been around and I have failed a lot. Because you learn a little from your successes, you learn a lot from your failures. And I've had a lot of failures. And failure is really a part of being a human being, and it's really part of being an entrepreneur, absolutely, okay? And if you think that you can escape it, let me know about that place because I'd like to join you there because I haven't found it yet, okay? So what I thought I'd do is tell you a little bit about my background so you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. Maybe it'll help you, maybe it won't. Maybe you're in a great place right now, maybe you're in a not so good place, and maybe what I'm about to share with you can actually help you. When I was 27 years old, I had left a very lucrative sales position at an engineering firm. And I was actually the director of sales and marketing there. I had been a sales guy, a nose-to-nose, toe-to-toe sales guy, hit the road, going out, making presentation and making presentations and closing sales and doing deals. It was basically a job that I didn't have a lot of passion for the actual subject, but you know what? It paid the bills and I held down a job that I really didn't like for the sake of a family that I loved. So I really was laying my life down in a certain sense because I had wanted to be a musician, right? That was what I worked for from the time I was 13 years old. And I really felt like I was being called to do something else, to get married, to start a family. And that's kind of the direction I went. Had a very successful 5-year stint at this engineering company. At the end of it, I had decided that I knew something, right? And now that I'm 40 years old, I've begun to realize that, you know what? The older I get, kind of the less I know. And one of my favorite quotes is, I'm not young enough to know everything. That's me. So I left my job at the age of 27, resigned on mutually, good terms with my boss, went out and started a company and promptly fell on my face. I actually ran through about $40,000 of cash that I had saved up. And I found myself in a business that I hated. I went from a job that I liked to a job that I really hated, which was running my own business. And at that point, that business owned me. Get that, right? I thought I was a business owner, but that business actually owned me. I did pretty much everything wrong. Went out, got some clients, helped them with their marketing, I wrote all the copy. I put together all the campaigns. I did some work for a veterinarian. I did some work for a painter, a general contractor, some other guys. We did okay, but what I realized quickly was I was working towards a business that I really hated, right? And that is a bad, bad feeling. And I didn't know what else to do. So it got to a point that I actually gave up. I just essentially said, man, I've got 4 kids, okay, at the time. And I've got to take care of this family that God has given me. I got to put some food on the table or, things are going to get worse. And so I went to a job placement agency, went down there and said, hey, you know what? Here's my resume. And they were like, dude, this looks great. I had a glowing resume with tons of accolades and recommendations and a lot of experience in sales, and I'd sold millions and millions worth of dollars worth of stuff. So it looked good. Went home, told my wife, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about getting a job, and I actually went to this job placement place. And she was like, okay. And you'd have to know my wife, just small little Italian girl, just very soft-spoken, but inside very passionate, right? Sat there and listened to me, and it's like, yeah, okay. I could tell she was trying to get on board, but she wasn't on board. And I actually left out a very important part of this story. About a few months before, not even a few months before, probably a month before, my wife had called me on the phone. Hey, I'm sitting on the side of the road with the 4 kids, and I feel like I'm going to pass pass out. I'm like trembling. I'm like, okay, I'll be right there. Hang up the phone, hightail it to my wife, get over there. Didn't know what the heck was wrong with her. Put her in the passenger seat, drove her directly to the doctor. Get to the doctor. They immediately whisk her back, do all these tests and everything. The doctor comes out with my wife and he goes, "Congratulations, your wife's pregnant." And I was like, wow, okay. So at that point, I was actually riding around in my beat up Saturn where the moonroof in it, sunroof, whatever you want to call it, the gasket was like ripped out of it because it was so freaking old. And there was water pouring into it every time that it rained. And being from Memphis, Tennessee, it rained quite a bit. And you know what? That was a really difficult time in my life. And I remember driving to BNI. I don't know if you know what that is, Business Network International. A good group, but not exactly where I wanted to be. I was going to the BNI meetings, right? Listening to Jeff Paul and Dan Kennedy customer appreciation seminars on tapes, right? And I remember listening to Jeff Paul talk about the fact that he had, I think he had 4 kids at the time, and that was a connection with me. And he was actually broke, living in his sister's basement, trying to figure out how he was going to make money. And I'm not endorsing Jeff Paul. He's kind of done some kind of crazy stuff. But, you know, at the time, I was listening to those tapes, and I was like, man, that dude was living with his sister in her basement until she kicked him out. He lived with his mother for a while. And I was like listening to these tapes, riding around in my beat up Saturn with water coming through, trying to hold my feet up by the floorboard because the floorboard was wet, while I go to a BNI meeting to stand up and tell people, hey, you should give me some money because I know what I'm doing. Stupid. Terrible marketing, terrible positioning. I could write some copy. We did do some successful campaigns. But man, it was just like I was running around working like 80 hours a week with basically no results. And then the clients that I got didn't follow through with the campaigns. It was like, hey, we got this postcard. We're going to do this campaign and we're going to need you to drop $1,000 on, you know, postcards and postage. And it's like $1,000. What? Wait a minute. Then they wouldn't run the campaign, blame me for the results. And I was like, screw this, man. So that I basically came to a conclusion. I am done. I'm done with consulting forever. I always said I would never go back into it. And that's just one of the things that, you know, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, because I said I will never go back into consulting. And guess what? You're watching this video because now I'm back in the consulting business. Hopefully for all the right reasons. So my wife is sitting with me on the couch. I had been to the job placement agency. I had already fired all my clients. I was at this point about $70,000 in credit card debt. And my wife is pregnant. Okay. And I said, look, I'm going to go get this job. Right. And she was like, why do you want to get a job? And I was like, well, if you haven't noticed, we're about 3 months from being on the street in a cardboard box with our 4 children and my pregnant wife. That's a good reason if I ever heard one. And she looked at me intently and said, you don't want to get a job. In fact, you don't want to work for anybody because you're an entrepreneur. Why don't you pull yourself together and figure out how to get us out of this hole that we're in? And for me, that was like a magic moment. Okay? It was the switch that flipped in my head that allowed me to just burn every other bridge, every other escape route, every other eject button possibility that I had. And I just said, I have to make this work. And I had a single-minded focus on exactly what I needed to do, which was there is no retreat. There is no going back. This is it. This is now. This is real. It is do or die, back to the wall, press forward, right? And because I don't give up, period. I don't give up. I'm the type of person that gets punched over and over and over again, and I keep getting up. In fact, there's a Metallica song that I like called Shoot Me Again, and the chorus is shoot me again, I'm not dead yet. And that's like kind of my mantra, you know? It's tenacity, it's fortitude, which is what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And if you don't have it, hang it up now. Go get yourself a job. Because if you don't have that interior solid feeling that, you know what, I'm betting on this guy to make it, then you're not going to make it. Because as soon as the first little thing that comes up that's difficult, you're going to fold like a cheap tent. You have to have the mentality. And you know what? I'm ashamed to tell you that I had basically given up on the idea. And it was only because my wife, who said to me, pull your crap together, figure out how to get us out of this hole. That was the green light for me, okay? And I went from $70,000 in debt to doing over $1 million in about 20 months, 24 months, something like that. And basically what I did was I asked myself, well, what do I know? Okay, this is classic information business. What do I know? What do I know? Do I know anything about anything? I was like, well, geez, I know something about music. I've got a freaking 4-year bachelor's degree in music. I graduated top of my class. You know, like, why don't I do something with music? I literally had not touched my guitar in like years. Took it out from underneath the bed, blew the dust off the top of it, and then decided to make a how to play guitar course. And I called it Amazing Guitar Secrets. I took Front Page, if that's even a product anymore. It's basically how to, is basically an HTML thing. I taught myself, read all the help files, taught myself how to get a web page up on the old interwebs, went and read this new thing called Google AdWords. I didn't know what AdWords were, but I knew about direct response marketing. Dude, when I saw AdWords, I was like, this is amazing. You mean I can actually type in, when people type in guitar lesson, I can have my ad come up that says, guitar lessons? Click here. That part I got. And then I put up a web page with an opt-in form with a simple lead magnet, which was give me your email address in exchange for a free report on the top tab sites on the internet, top 10 tab sites or something like that. And I went and jammed my credit card into Google AdWords. I started running some ads and I started getting some clicks. That's where it started. I made the decision. I went and put up the daggum webpage. I took out my credit card. I ran some ads and somebody clicked. You got that? That's where it all started. Something happened. There was some motion. There was something going on. Somebody clicked the ad. And you know what else happened? They landed on a landing page. That was the second thing that happened. They clicked, then they landed on the landing page. You know what the third thing happened is? They either left or they opted in. Those are the two options. And you know what happened? Some of the people put their email address in. Okay? That was the third thing happened. People put their email address in. Then they clicked the submit button, right? Then what happened was they went and read their email. And they opened up my email and they engaged with it. That's what happened. They read it. And at that time, there wasn't even YouTube, dude. It was like, there was no videos on the interwebs. It was text. Guitar lessons text. Place your finger on the fretboard. Blah, blah, blah. Now there's billions of guitar lessons out there. And it was all text, man. And so I was sending them these, like it was a 6-day how to play guitar course. So I had probably seriously 360 people on this list. And my wife was like, when are these people going to buy something? Because I was telling her, oh, it's so cool. I ran these ads, people got on this list, and now they're getting my email. She was like, that's awesome. When are they going to buy something? And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't really have anything to sell them. So I hired a videographer, actually, because I knew nothing about video, and it wasn't quite as simple back then where you could just take your iPhone and it shot like better video than an HD camera, right? So I took that, I hired this dude. He came over to my house. I made sure he could take credit card because I had no freaking money, that's for sure. And dude came over to my house, and literally I sat down and I just taught for like a day, one day. I just taught everything that I knew about guitar, and that was basically it. Then I sat down in Word and I wrote out all of the chord diagrams and all the things that went along with it. I hired a kid in high school to help me like assemble it into a PDF because that was like really difficult then. And, put like some images and stuff in it. And you know what happened? I told dude, don't edit this because I'm not sure if anybody's going to buy it. I'm going to try to sell it first. And if I get an order, then I'll tell you about it and you can kind of edit it. And this thing will have, like a life. It'll have a pulse at least. So literally, I sent an email out to my list and listen to this brilliant offer, right? The brilliant offer was, if you pay me $45 today, when I make this course, I will ship it to you and then charge you the balance. That was like the worst offer ever, okay? But I sent it out. I had a one shopping cart form. I went there. Somebody went there. I'll never forget the guy's name. I don't want to say it on camera, but I have his name right in my head right now of who the guy was. If I ever see that guy, if I ever meet that guy, I'm going to throw my arms around him and just kiss him. And the dude ordered, okay? And this is when I had it set up where it would send an email like every time you get an order, and it made like a little ding noise. And I sent that email out and nothing happened initially. Nothing happened initially, right? Went to bed, kind of down again. And my wife was like, I'm just going to go check. It's like every hour she'd go up to the computer, check on the computer. This is before iPhones, like had constant, like I said, walk up the stairs where we had like the one computer in the house. And at like 3 o'clock in the morning, I was dead asleep. She wakes me up. Hey, you got an order. That was one of the greatest days of my life. I couldn't sleep. I woke up. Now think about this for a second. That was the first $45 anyone had paid me in months and months. I was paying my mortgage on cash advances. Maybe you don't even know what that is. If you don't, God bless you. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Because you know what? That's a really bad thing. I was paying my mortgage on cash advances. Got that one order, and by the time I got up the next day, I had 2 orders. Now, let me tell you, I had put up a web page. I ran an ad. Someone clicked. Someone opted in. Someone read the email, right? Someone got an offer. Someone bought. Those were the 7 things. We overcomplicate business all the time. Those were the steps. That's what happened. And you know what? I looked at the results and then I went and did a lot more of that. I bought a lot more ads. I put a lot more people on that list. I got better at content. I got better at making videos. I eventually hired other guitarists who could outplay me, and teach better than me. And eventually that business went on to a multi-million-dollar business, right? And I would literally call up the bank on the credit card and get a payoff quote on the $18,633 balance or whatever it was on that particular card. I would write out a check and I would take a picture of it. I'd put it in a FedEx next day air envelope and I would ship it to them, and my wife and I would party because that was another card that got knocked down to a 0 balance. And dude, I just kept doing that until all $70,000 was paid for. And, the next year, I believe it was, I basically had another problem on my hand, which was for the first time in my life, I had to pay income tax, which I didn't even, well, probably not for the first time in my life, but for the first time in my life, it was a significant amount, like a shocking amount. And, from there, I went on and started another company in the guns business and the training business and media and some other things. And so that's basically my qualifications. My qualifications to you is that I have failed a lot. I've been there. I've done that. I got the I'm a big idiot t-shirt. I've got that t-shirt, right? Because I know now a lot of stuff that I can possibly say, don't do that. That's a bad idea because I've already done that and that really didn't work. Like I've got an article on my blog about 10 questions to ask any list broker. Like I've written $10,000 checks to list brokers and they're like, we're going to mail this thing to 1 million people. And you send it out and you get like 5 clicks. It's like crickets chirping in the background, That's a pretty sinking feeling. You're like, dang, okay, I'll try to do something better next time. I built teams. You know what? I'm not going to sit here and try to sell you on me. I go back. My greatest qualification is my failures. And I have failed a lot over this 20-year career in sales and direct response marketing. So I hope this very long video, which I thought was going to be like 5 minutes, that story in some way touches you, in some way inspires you, in some way helps you move from wherever you are now to wherever you want to go, okay? Because I want you to know something. I believe in you because I believe in people. And I believe that if you have the chutzpah, if you've got that intestinal integrity, if you've got fortitude, tenacity, that stick-to-itness, that never quit, that do or die mentality, you can succeed. If you don't have it, hang it up. Hang it up. If you're just trying it to see if it's going to work, stop. Don't waste your time. Please. Do yourself a service. Do your family a service. Do me a service. Please do not contact me for consulting if that's your mentality. I can't help you. I can't help you unless you are all in. If you are all in, if you are 100% committed, if you know that you would rather do just about anything that's not illegal or immoral to not have to go get a job, then you're an entrepreneur. Okay? If you have a backup plan, if you want to try this thing, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's either in you or it's not, okay? And that's a real gut check. But I think it's one of those things that the faster you come to that conclusion, the faster you can get on with your life, right? I think you either have this thing in you or you don't, okay? And you're the only person that can answer that question. But if that's you, and if you're passionate, and if you're willing to work your butt off, if you're willing to sacrifice, if you're willing to go the distance, then, hey, you know what? Maybe we can work together. Even if you and I don't work together, I wish you nothing but success. Absolutely nothing but success. Okay? Take care, my friend. All the very best. And I'll talk to you next time.